Helen Daniels and one of the many young pipers in the village. Welcome to our latest edition of BraemarTV. I'm here at the castle and will be playing a tune for you later in the programme. But let's take a look at what's on in the next 20 minutes or so.
My earliest memories are just bagpipes. Bagpipes and more bagpipes.
Yes, it's nice to get out and see all the ladies.
So the Highland Society is not something that you generally hear or see much of out with the gathering day and the build-up to the gathering itself. However, in the last few weeks and months there's been quite a lot of activity on and off the gathering field, and as you can see behind me there's a lot of sand being placed there at the moment. The reason for this is that over the last 5 to 10 years we've had a development of a problem called thatch, which has prevented water from draining cleanly from the park itself, meaning it's a bit of a quagmire, almost like a boating pond on some occasions. So the work that's been taking place behind me is 160 tonnes of sand along with gravel banding to allow that water to drain away and to allow the grass to come through quite greenly. It's going to take a few weeks, if not months, for this to happen, which is the reason why we're doing it in April, and it's going to cost quite a significant amount of money as well for the society to do this. But hopefully by September what you'll see behind us is a nice green arena ready for the gathering day itself. So that's on the park. Off the park you may have noticed that our Facebook page has been quite active, and also that we have a new website. And part of that new website is the introduction of online ticketing and also online registration for our competitors. Both have done really well so far, and it hopefully will prove to be a bumper year for our spectators as well as our competitors. Our piping entries in the open category are almost complete, and we've over 30 applicants for our open dancing section. Our open dancing section this year will also include an under 12s category, and that's because we had a great interest from those between the age of 9 and 12 last year, and we felt that it was right to introduce it at this time. Behind me you'll see in the Royal Pavilion we have the exhibition that we've put in place. This is to hopefully encourage some folk into the park and across this side of the village during the course of the summer, and also to advertise the gathering and the village itself. The Braemar Royal Highland Society was one of the charities within the village which was fortunate enough to get some co-op community funds support in the last week. Just over £500, and that money is going to go towards the archive that we've started. And that archive is not just for ourselves, but it's actually going to be a Scotland-wide and worldwide archive for Highland Games. Hopefully tying in with the new centre that you'll have perhaps seen the plans for that have been developed. And just as a final reminder to those society members, the annual general meeting of the society is on Friday the 19th of May at 7 p.m. for 7:30 at the Society Hut.
Hello, my name's Andy Anderson and this is Welcome to Braemar TV.
Hello, I'm Sandra and you're watching Braemar TV.
I wasn't actually born in Braemar, but I don't ever remember living anywhere else. We came here when I was 5 in 1948. My dad was a fanatical bagpipe player, and he taught everybody from beginners to really experienced pipers, and our house was full of pipers every single day apart from a Sunday. So all I remember, my earliest memories are just bagpipes. He was the Laird's piper for about 40 years. I used to go along with them up to Invercauld house when my dad used to go to play for the Laird and his guests, because I used to do some Highland dancing before dinner to entertain the guests as well. So I was usually there with him most of the time. He stayed on late, obviously, and I was sent home by car, and he stayed late on to the night, and the Laird and him usually ended up in the tartan room at Invercauld house having a few drams after all the guests had gone to bed. My dad was actually the estate plumber, but you know, part of his job was being the Laird's piper, and his duties mainly were piping the Laird and Mrs. Farquharson and the guests into dinner. Mrs. Farquharson was an American. I don't know if everybody knows that, but so she had lots of American friends who used to come over during the summer months for shooting, fishing and that sort of thing, and they used to have wonderful Highland hospitality at Invercauld House, and my dad was always there to entertain them with a pibroch or two after dinner as well. I was the accountant at Invercauld from 1994. I took over from Bob Lay, the previous accountant who sadly died quite recently. I was only there for 8 years at that time. I left again in 2001. Simon Blackett, the new factor, had just arrived, and he was quite new. He was completely new to the area, and I think he valued my knowledge, having been brought up in Invercauld Estate. I knew everybody. I knew all the tenants. I knew all the old farmers, and I just knew everybody, and I think he found that quite helpful, that I could give him some background. Alban was a real gentleman. If you had to take one word to describe him, it would be gentleman. Mrs. Farquharson, his first wife, she was very eccentric, but a very, very likeable person, and she did such a lot for Braemar, for the estate and for the village. She started the Invercauld Festival Theatre in the late 50s. I think it would have been about the late 50s. It was a church previously, and it's now a block of flats opposite the Invercauld Hotel. But for many years, for probably 20 odd years, it was the Invercauld Festival Theatre. It had all sorts of shows. I mean, Mrs. Farquharson had it all renovated inside, and she had this wonderful mural painted of depicting Finlay More Farquharson at the Battle of Pinkie, where he was Mary Queen of Scots standard bearer, and he was killed there at the Battle of Pinkie. The theatre itself was, I think it was what's called an Elizabethan style theatre. It had no wings, it just had a stage that jutted out into the theatre with the mural as a backdrop. And every week there were Scottish shows, every Wednesday night, for the visitors to the village. It was like a Highland evening that my father organised. He was a sort of musical director, and Bud McIntosh was the general manager for the theatre. And we had all sorts of people who came to perform there. Mrs. Farquharson could be very persuasive when she tried. We even had Scottish ballet, and we had Scottish opera. We had the Corries. We've had all sorts of people performing, and it's just so sad it's no longer in use. Frances Farquharson was a real eccentric. I remember her talking to me in the estate office one day saying, "You know, Norma, Alban's very lucky. He could have married a dolly bird who spent all his money, but instead he married somebody 20 years older." And she said, "I'm very good at saving money for the estate." And she was. She really was. She did so much for the village. I mean, not just the theatre, but she opened what's now Davy Geddes' Sweetie Shop. She opened that as the Invercauld speciality shop, selling tweeds and knitwear and tartans and all that sort of thing. She was a great asset to Invercauld Estate. She loved Braemar Castle, and actually she insisted that her and Alban moved into the castle every summer for 6 weeks, so they actually lived in the castle before it was open to the public. That only stopped when she became infirm and she couldn't manage the steps. She had been fashion editor for Vogue magazine before she met Alban, and so she was into fashion in a big way, and she had all these wonderful Farquharson tartan outfits made, and some of them were quite shocking, you know, and people in Braemar hadn't seen anything like it. And she used to wear these enormous mohair bonnets, and she had one in red and yellow and blue and green, all colours that are in the Farquharson tartan, and it depended on her mood which one she wore. Since the 80s and 90s, there have been more outsiders moving into the village, and they've given the village a new lease of life. I mean, we need people here who have always been here and who are the, you know, the backbone of the village, but we also need diversity, and we have so many new talented people who've moved into Braemar in the last 20 years, and now it's quite a vibrant community, and I don't ever remember it being as vibrant as that before.
That was Norma looking back on her life in Braemar. More to come, but first, here's a tune that most of you will know. gathering. If you want to try the pipes, contact the Braemar Piping Association. It'll take a lot of hard work, but in the end, it'll be really fun.
Hello, my name's Sue Sherrard and I would like to wish a very happy 30th birthday to my lovely daughter, Anna Carey Miller. We started as the Braemars down in Aberdeen, doing knitted installations for Easter Anguston Farm in Petercouta, and then after a few years there we moved up to Braemar as part of the Creative Arts Festival. So we've been running since 2009, and when we moved up to Braemar we started selling our knitting as well, so we're now a sort of charity fundraiser and a bit of a social gathering.
Oh, it's lovely. And nice knit and natter with them all. It's good. It's nice to get out and see all the ladies.
In the past, we've knitted a 20-metre snake that went on to adorn the Sky Bridge for the year of the homecoming. We've knitted giant pandas that ended up in Edinburgh Zoo. We've knitted a flock of sheep. When we came to Braemar, we did squirrels and a stag, a patchwork stag, the head of which you can see and taste. We've also done birds, and then we did flowers and mushrooms, and then last year we did fish. And so we try and do a children's trail so people can explore the village, and we also do an installation to grab people's eye.
I enjoy it because there's such a different variation of age groups, from the little wee titty ones to the ones that are slightly older than myself. You learn different things from other people that, you know, I've been knitting all my life, yet there's things we've discovered from coming here that I didn't realise I didn't know.
This year we're doing a troll trail, so the ladies are busy knitting trolls, and we're going to decorate the bridge as a woodland and flower scene. So we're going to recycle the flower panels that we put up a couple of years ago, but add a few things like foxes, hedgehogs, snails, you name it. So it's a social and fun gathering for people. We also put out knitting kits around the village. And the Invercauld Hotel is a great participant, the coach parties that come through there, and people like to knit a row or two and be part of it.
I've always loved knitting and craft work, and it's a good social group. We meet here every Tuesday afternoon for a couple of hours. Some days there's more nattering than knitting, but we all enjoy ourselves. It's a good way of getting out and about. And at the end of the craft week, we sell off a lot of our knitting, and the money goes to different local charities, which is always a good thing to support.
Who knows what next year will be, but once we've put up our installation in October for the festival, we then participate in the Bray Market, which this year I think is on the 24th of October, and we sell as much of our knitwear as we can. It then gets sold at the Christmas fair and in Taste and in Gordon's Tea Room. And then come January, we try and decide what we're going to do the next year, and we just see what takes our fancy. In 2018, we're going to do a big poppy installation. So we're asking people to start knitting and crocheting poppies already. And Margaret has been very productive in knitting poppies for us.
I'm Brian Wood, I'm chairman of the St Margaret's Trust, and we're looking forward to a very busy and exciting season of performances and events here at St Margaret's. Hopefully we'll have a mixture of old friends and new friends coming along, and towards the end of May we kick off the season with a concert organised by Fiona Kennedy. Fiona is one of our trustees and she's very supportive of the programme and the project. And she is bringing along Mary Gaucher, a friend of hers from Nashville in Tennessee, a well-known American country singer. And she and Fiona and Paul Anderson will be hosting a concert here in St Margaret's, in a concert that we've entitled Fiona, Paul and Mary. Sadly, we couldn't find a Peter to perform.
Black clouds blowing across a blustery sky. Black clouds blowing across a blustery sky. South of Highway 7, all alone and crying, oh so I sold you away. When you sell your soul, it opens a deep, dark hole. When you sell your soul, it opens a deep, dark hole.
Later in the season we'll have a contemporary music concert, a mini festival organised by Graham Fitkin and Ruth Wall, and we'll also have a performance of Romeo and Juliet given by an abridged Shakespearean company called the 3-Inch Fools. And again we will welcome back towards the end of July performers from the Aberdeen International Youth Festival, and this year we have a 40-piece youth orchestra from Holland who will come along. So all in all, we're looking forward to a very busy and exciting season ahead.
Good morning, I'm Mark Davidson, chef from Manchester, up here on holiday with this lovely little quaint town for the second time in a year. Lovely little town, perfect.
Today is a character feature day, and we've got a number of the characters who have been associated with the castle over the centuries who are dressed up to mimic those characters, and they will be greeting visitors and explaining about their role in history and the castle's role in the history of, but not only this community but of the country of Scotland.
Okay.
That's one reaction we've not had.
Where are you from?
There are reports that 17 Camerons were incarcerated here for 7 days, and the reason for that was they'd been accused of cattle stealing, which was quite prevalent after the 1745.
This is the drawing room, or withdrawing room. I came here for tea after the Highland Games were held on the grounds outside. That would have been the year after they were held at Invercauld House, which was 1848.
I'm a Jacobite. Do you both know what a Jacobite is? Yes, well, and that all started as a result of the Glorious Revolution in 1688. That was when King James VII was replaced by his daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange from Holland.
I'm Captain Anderson from the government troops, and the government troops were stationed here after the Battle of Culloden when the Jacobite army were defeated.
They were actually executed. Luckily I managed to escape capture until the end, when I was imprisoned in Inverness jail for a few months. There was debate as to whether they were going to make an example of some of the women who had helped Bonnie Prince Charlie, but in the end my husband pleaded for my life, even though he was fighting for the other side, and I was released into his care.
I started writing this in one of the bedrooms there.
Amazing, brilliant. And you hadn't really written a lot before?
I'd written one or two things, yes, one or two short stories, and they were published, but they were more or less published for magazines.
Right.
As this started off really as a boys' comic. And then it developed. It developed, and it was completed in 1883 as the book.
If you want to go and have a look at the bathroom next door, it's in chaparelli pink, and there are 7 pictures around the walls which belong to Piccadilly Jim of the 7 deadly sins. He's a bit of a character.
Good morning and welcome to my house, Braemar Castle. My name is James Ross Farquharson. I was born in 1834 at the family home of Invercauld House. I was the first of 13 children born to my parents.
I used to work with a designer, Schiaparelli in New York in the 1920s, and she loved Schiaparelli pink. Look at this, it's pink. And I love pink too. Look, pink, pink, just like the pink in your basket. And I painted lots of rooms in the castle pink. Have you seen my pink rooms in the castle? Mm-hmm. Yeah? In fact, I painted most of Braemar pink.
It's pink!
It's pink. So I worked in the fashion industry and then I came to Britain.
Hi, I'm Marlon Baker, Director of the Braemar Creative Arts Festival. 2 years ago we invited some ladies from Dumfries who are called the Samba Sisters to come and do a bit of a drumming up in the middle of the village and offer some tuition for those who might be interested. And amazingly enough, there was a good 15 or 20 people signed up to take the class, and all thoroughly enjoyed it. Couldn't wait till the next year. I mean, invited the Samba Sisters back again, and they gave us another 2 days of great instruction on the drums. We thought, wouldn't it be great if we could have our own samba drum here, drumming band? So we had I asked the Samba Sisters what they would recommend that we bought, and I talked to the people at the school as well because they were interested in getting the children involved. And we ended up buying a kit for 20 players. And today we opened up the boxes that have been sitting here for 2 weeks now, and we had about 15 people here today opening up boxes and playing along with the drums. Had an impromptu exhibition led by Fiona, who didn't know any more than the rest of us, but did a great job of getting us all beating in rhythm. So now we're looking forward to the Samba Sisters coming again next month on 3 weekends, almost in a row, to give us more instruction so we can become a proper band. So we're all really looking forward to it, and I hope you'll all enjoy us playing at various functions and events in the village.
That's it for another edition. I hope you enjoyed catching up with everything that's going on in the village. If you have any comments, please get in touch by the address below. Goodbye for now, and I'll play you out with Invercauld House.